we would like to call to attention a recent issue which affects the lives of international students, current or prospective, as well as the local population in northern Cyprus. The disregard for due process, elaborated below, presents a danger not merely for future violations of this right, but paves the way for the violation of other rights in the future.
VOIS Cyprus, in collaboration with NANS alongside local civil society organizations, organized a press release to address the breach of foreign students' right to due process. Since the 7th of June of 2022, the TRNC government has released several lists of foreigners to be deported, one of which is Yakubu Abdullahi.
The issue that concerns us here, however, is not the criminality of those who have been deported, but that of due process. Here we want to mention the case of international student Yakubu Abdullahi, who was among those on the aforementioned list. He is a Nigerian PhD student and a research assistant with a 4.0 GPA at the architecture faculty of the Eastern Mediterranean University, as well as a representative of his community in his capacity as the president of the National Association of Nigerian Students. It is further evidence of his academic ability and personal merit that his university advisor testified in favor of his character in court. The court decided that the Council of Ministers had not provided the required proof of illegal activity, as set out in Chapter 105 Foreigners and Immigrants Code, Article 6.1, in order to deem someone as an unwanted foreigner. The court has also admitted that if an injunction is not granted to Yakubu, he will suffer irreparable damage to his life. I repeat, despite ruling that there was insufficient evidence for the charges made against him, there is insufficient evidence. The judge did not grant an injunction to stop the deportation order, on the grounds that he was absent in court. The court stated he had not come to court with clean hands. We believe that the presumption of innocence principle has been infringed and the injustice caused by the deportation order has not been corrected. Thus, we have filed an appeal before the High Court, and we are hoping that the High Court will stop this human rights violation and reach a just decision. We have received many calls, emails, and inquiries from current students and their parents and families as well as from prospective students, worried about what could happen to them. They wonder, could they be deported at any time for no reason at all? Could their student status be cancelled at any time without being offered a chance at due process? And as has happened to Yakubu Abdullahi, could we be found innocent of charges while at the same time being subject to deportation? At a time when international students are physically assaulted in the streets, the last thing students need is an infringement of our rights by authorities and inconsistencies in the legal process. In the last days of the month of October, Yakubu was arrested by the police, taken to jail and then deported to his country within 3 days of his arrest. According to Yakubu's own statement, on his way to the police station and inside the station itself, he was physically assaulted and beaten up many times.
From every Nigerian student who knows Yakubu knows that he's a leader who led by example, and he does not encourage crimes or anything of such in the community. And his arrest or his deportation was a surprise to most of us, and the accusations that came to him. And so we call that the authorities do all that they need to do by the due process to ensure that this declaration on him is cancelled, because he is going to need to further his life, and such accusation cannot be on his head. We know that he's innocent of the things that he's accused of, and we call that the proper thing be done.
I think there is a very high need for capacity building. and intercultural training towards police officers, because there's always language barriers, there's discrimination, and extreme cases like this, it even leads to abuse. And I also want to add that in this case, it's a very huge cause of concern, because when the injustice is caused by the people who are supposed to bring justice, then we can expect chaos in society.
We need systems that work and systems that hold people accountable, and we need accountability. We need accountability on universities, accountability on police, accountability on all institutions that deal with international students. And these systems should involve international students as well themselves. They shouldn't just be handled by government without any inclusion of international students, without even having any sort of English language or any kind of languages that international students speak.
When we talk about accountability, the main body that is accountable should be the ministers, the parliamentarians, and the government. In particular, the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Interior, because international students are invited here as guests. We are told that this is a safe place for us to study. But unfortunately, once students find themselves here, they are very vulnerable. And rather than trying to protect the students, rather than trying to help with the integration of international students, within the Turkish Cypriot society, we see the rhetoric from the government. We see very xenophobic, very racist, very aggressive language by ministers, by parliamentarians, and so all the actions that are carried by the police and by other actors, other stakeholders, are a direct result of how the government is treating international students.
Despite all these underlying situations, we're here collected because someone with a kind of a position has been prosecuted very wrongfully. Do you have any statistics on people who do not have such a platform to be able to have their voice heard, go through the same kind of discrimination that people who have a voice, who have a representation here, that face the same discriminations? Like just regular students, do you have a number on that?
We don't have the numbers. We have the representation that is given in the press, that foreign students are the ones who commit most of the crimes here. And when we've asked for specific information to kind of justify why this is the case, we haven't gotten that. But we are aware, at least from some students who were in detention before, that there are so many international students who are in prison. Some of them for bogus reasons. Now, have we been able to represent all of them? No. And the main reason is because we are all students.
Yeah.
And the majority we are also victims of what is happening. And so there is so much that we can do, and that is why, as my colleague rightly said, we need the universities and the government to be able to protect us. We should not be doing this. We should not be having a press conference here trying to request for a fair hearing, because if the process is right, if the system is right, if the university, why has the university, EMU for example, not given a public statement about Yakubu's case, even though they know fully well, and is according to the court decision, that he did not commit a crime, but there wasn't sufficient evidence to say he committed the crime. This is the most prestigious university in Northern Cyprus, the most well-known university in Northern Cyprus, and they have not uttered a single statement. So how much can we do?
The most disappointing result of all of this is how badly it's permeating the regular person on the road. You will be surprised, but if you have conversations with students, you will hear of different iterations of these things happening. Because what happens now is, if I, as a Cypriot, look around and I see, from the state level, nobody really cares that much. The universities that these students are attending also don't seem to care that much. I then also feel like I could do whatever I want. Who is going to come and care that much? Nobody. If nobody cares, then why do I have a responsibility to care? And these are the people, and by these people I mean the locals, these are the people that we most regularly interact with. So you can see why I say that is actually the biggest problem in all of this, because if it permeates the society itself to the level where even regular interactions with shopkeepers, it wasn't that long ago, I think maybe it was a year or two ago, that there was an incident where a student was shot with the hunting pellet or something at the supermarkets, you would hear something like that and think, well, it's not that abnormal given the context. And that, like I said, speaks to the point I'm raising. By the time you have regular individuals feeling as though they could do whatever they want without recourse, and this happens, again, even driving on the road sometimes. So people will hit you and be like, who are you going to call? Adults, can they drive off? There's just so many iterations of that. So it's very, very important that on the macro level, so I'm talking the responsible authority, so let's even move out of civil society and all of that, there needs to be a very clear message sent that certain things will simply not be tolerated.
That is corrupt. The society cannot pick a president that he has one or two locals that been questionable. The society, as Nigeria, cannot pick a student that have a CGPA that is not good at all. So everything they normally do, we normally checkmate everything and make it to be known to the society, of which one, the country knows about this very person, because from his day one to this country, he has his details already. So if he has a problem, then definitely he might not be even accessible, because the day that he's been sworn in, that very day, the government, that the police department or other department calls him, and will always have a meeting in every department, in every ministry, one after the other, to visit them, to tell them, okay, to introduce ourselves, everything. Then why does this happen